Don't, bro. You may get me heated, man.
That's what we need, Dan.
No, then you get heated.
Round up, homies. What is going down? It is an honor to be with you once again on Sunday evening. I'm with my friend. I am Kris Haskins. I will be your co-pilot tonight. My mission is to raise your and ministry is to raise your financial literacy through real estate investing and entrepreneurship. Dan, make sure you hit that live button on your screen there. Once again, every Sunday, I've got my boy, my friend, my mentor, Dan Borrero. He is a multi-million dollar real estate investor in New York City. He's got real estate in several different states. And every Sunday, we like to come on here and share with you what has been working for us through the 50 years to combine that we've been doing this business, and to answer your questions to help you get your deals closed and get your financial freedom number up. Dan Borrero, what's up, buddy?
What's going on, Mr. Haskins? It's always a pleasure to share the screen with you on Sunday night, man. I look forward to this, brother,
Me
especially
too.
with this new platform, man. It makes me feel like I'm a radio host or something like a hot, we're the
I keep
good people that
telling
people call.
you know what? Both of our wives, we are we are somebody's.
As long as we're not home, anywhere out of our home.
I'm like, I walk out of my house, I feel phenomenal. I walk home, I'm like, am I somebody? Do I
They put us back to reality, right?
round up tonight? Oh, what's going on, Deborah? One of our supporters. Thank you so much, Deborah, for supporting. What's going on? Listen, I'm gonna take Dan out of his box a little bit tonight. I want to talk politics. I really do, and I want to talk real estate too. I'm gonna keep it in the lane, and I'm not an expert on politics. But as we approach this election, Dan, I'm thinking in my mind. First of all, I'm sad that I only have these two people that I don't know how they came into being, whatever. So this is just what it is. But one guy, who do I want to represent in America? One guy, rich guy, says speaks his mind, might offend some people, says some off the wall stuff, maybe even make up some stuff from time to time, right? I'm just stating what I've seen. But I make a lot of money. In fact, I make a lot more money with this person in office. On the other hand, I've got this person doesn't give a hill of beans about me, never really necessarily spoke about my community, is ready to raise taxes on me. No doubt I'm going to make a lot less money with this person and capital gains and all this stuff coming down the pipeline. So I want to talk to Roundup family tonight. What do y'all think? Well, what are we thinking here, Dan? And I want to get your opinion too, because I don't see. I'm like, what are they doing for me?
Yeah, and plus, if anybody has any questions in reference to real estate, entrepreneurship, please dial that number that's on the
That's
screen right
true.
now because we are here to serve you, right? We're
Yeah,
here to
we
help you to overcome your challenges in any aspect of the business or entrepreneurship or real estate investing.
yeah call it real estate. We're gonna talk real estate more. We're gonna do real estate more, but you got to at least open up the conversation, Dan. I don't want to, I don't want to run away. I don't want to be scared to talk about it.
Uh, you know how I feel, bro, and I could get heated about this discussion. So I'm not sure if I'm the right
Well,
person.
we'll save that. We'll table that for people that are coming in. We'll save that for people that are coming in. If anybody wants to talk about what I want to know what the people thinking. Dan, don't you wonder what
I
people are
do, I
thinking?
do. Listen, the reality is, I got to be honest with you. I've made more money. For whatever well, I know the reasons why, but I've made more money, with the exception of Ronald Reagan and Bush Senior. I've made more money with Democratic administrations than I have with Republican administrations. Now, I don't
Hold up,
know if
Dan.
that's
I thought
because I
that big.
was in the wave, that the wave as it was going up, or whether it was going down. But at the end of the day, those are just the realities. I've made more money with those with Democrat administrations. Like under Biden administration, I made a ton of money. I didn't
I
really
thought you
make
got a big
much.
check when Trump was in office back in
I did.
2000.
I got a huge tax return, so bad, so huge that I actually hired another accountant to check my first account because I didn't want to get in trouble. Um,
Okay.
yeah, so much so that I was able to pay for my kids, my youngest son's Mark college expenses that year, and his expenses a year was 75 grand a year. Um, so, you know, I don't, I personally think those tax cuts were not good for
Majority, the masses.
Our deficit, or for people after you look at those tax cuts, if you're a 9 to 5 person,
You're in trouble.
you guys were screwed over 5 year course. Like it took a while for it to hit. So if you looked at the end of 5 years, you were paying more taxes than you were prior to that tax cut. But now for business people like us, it's an exceptional deal. It's an exceptional deal, right? It's great.
And I don't think, Dan, I don't think you're in business solely for yourself. I just don't. You don't come off to be like that to me.
No, no. Look, there's good. It doesn't matter what administration comes in. There's going to be good and there's going to be bad, and it's going to hurt some more, and it's going to help others more. But that's our job to pivot, right? As
Mhm.
as business people, our job is to pivot, right? So to me, economically, it doesn't matter to me who wins because I'm going to make money. Kris Haskins is going to make money. Real business people are going to make money no matter who comes in as president. We don't allow whoever's the president to determine
Oh no,
our financial wealth,
you can be in
right?
trouble.
We pivot, we adjust, we listen to the rhetoric, and we go in a direction that rhetoric is going to bring us more money, right? But if you're a 9 to 5 person, it's a little you can't pivot, right? We have those options, but the reality is now for social reasons, then it's a different argument. If you were to ask me, that's a different argument.
Okay, I'm just curious. I didn't know. So round up, get your question in, please. There's a number here. Somebody says learning from our selfless service. Thank you, TT. I appreciate that.
I appreciate that.
Call in 20757-204-1332. Dan, I want to ask you about condo fees, and I want to ask you about when you're buying condos, do you verify before you buy them what type of financing is allowed within the HOA?
So when when we go into an HOA community, I concern myself with that, right? So what does that mean? So many HOA communities, not many, all of them, conventional loans are very difficult to get if you have more investors owning the property than end users. So, that's what they call now. If you have more end users, people who actually reside in the properties
Owner occupants.
rather than rent, then they consider that to be called what they call FHA approved, right? Which means the conventional lenders are going to start lending there because if FHA will lend there, it's pretty safe, right? Because they have strict guidelines. Now, when that happens, the price of the condos go up dramatically, right? So we try to get into HOA communities right about when it's almost 50-50 before it's FHA approved, because once it gets FHA approved, the prices increase dramatically as a result of more people
Financing.
being able to finance in that community.
Mm. So does that dictate this whether you buy or not, or what?
I'm not sure. Ask me the question again, Kris.
Does that dictate whether you're going to buy or not,
Well,
yay
no,
or
there's
nay, or
different
what?
things that dictate, right? So we make it our business to go to the community board meetings, um, and usually those community board meetings are held on either Monday nights or Wednesday nights. But Wednesday nights are the primary nights that they choose, and they usually held around 8 o'clock at night or 7 o'clock at night. And if
Mhm.
you go to the community board clubhouse, to the community board office, it's usually posted on the outside on a bulletin board,
Got
so
it.
you'll see when they're going to have those meetings, and they're going to ask people to sign, and I sign in with a fake name, and and I shouldn't probably be saying this on the air, but I'll sign in with a fake name, and I'll make up an apartment number or an address. I don't care, they're not checking at the moment, and I'm just sitting there listening. I'm listening to see if there's any Karens, in the mix, right, on the HOA board, people that make themselves, they feel really strong and making their
Oh,
voices heard for
Lord.
all the wrong reasons, right? So if I see personalities like that on the board, I'm not buying in there, right?
You're
If
there.
I see there's a lot of chaos between the community members yelling at the board members and back and forth, I'm not buying in there, right? So if I drive in a community and I see like workout equipment on the porch or clothes hanging, I'm not buying in there. If I
Mhm.
see the grass is brown, I'm not buying in there. If I see a lot of weeds and the landscape is not taken care of, I'm not buying in there, right? So there's a lot of the properties talk to you as soon as you drive in.
We got something right there, and I got to make sure I announce. Listen, y'all, there's a link in the video description below. We've got the My Best Tenant Challenge coming open tomorrow. Me and Lakeisha, she manages 200 plus doors. Property manager, professional property manager, y'all. She's going to show you how she manages 200 plus doors for other landlords and teaching you all the secrets and tips how she does it. So make sure you get registered up in the video description below. I look forward to seeing you at the challenge. So, Dan, anything interesting in your real estate business this past week?
You know, Kris, I don't know if I told you, I'm doing this major waterproofing job in one of my properties in Brooklyn.
Okay.
And I'm looking at spending about $70,000 in the next
on a roof.
weeks. No, not even the roof. This is just the two walls.
Oh, those cement walls. I've been watching you sculpt them things up. You
Yeah.
called me that we talked the other day. They weren't drying as fast.
No, yeah, exactly. So I finally got the permits because I have to put up a shed. What you and I have discussed. The shed cost me $15,000. It was $7,500 for the architect and $7,500 for the rental.
Did the architect had to do the drawings for the scaffolding?
Yes, he had to do the drawings for the scaffolding, and then they had to be filed.
Gosh, y'all, I don't think people understand what you just said.
Yeah,
15,000 before you get any work done.
15,000 just for the permits to get the scaffolding.
Good God, man, that's a
so
monster.
You know, and hence, let's talk about the election, right? Why am I doing this now? My intent was to do it next year, around August and September when the weather was better. But after this race is so close, I suspect it's close for the presidency.
Mm-hmm.
If Harris comes into office and she wins and the Democrats win the House of Representatives, I suspect that one of the first things they're going to do is take back those 2017 tax benefits that they gave to business people, primarily to real estate investors. And the thing that affects us the most is the accelerated depreciation, right? So for the audience, you guys know what that means. If you don't, let us know. So
accelerated depreciation
means that, let's say I put a new roof on, and it cost me $30,000 before.
Caller,
press 1.
1 second,
send a voicemail, press 2.
Caller, you're on the line. Hold on 1 second, please. Go ahead, Dan.
So the accelerated depreciation, let's say before this new tax law that happened in 2017 under Trump's administration, I could deduct $1,000 of depreciation per year because the roof cost me $30,000 over 30 years. Now it's totally different. I could deduct something like $8,000 or $9,000. I'd have to ask my accountant with the accelerated depreciation the first year. So, and then after that, it gets divided accordingly over
depreciated over time. Yeah.
So the point is, I'm trying to get as much capital improvements in now, right? Because if Harris wins, I strongly suspect they're going to try to take away that accelerated depreciation tax deduction. Now, if Trump wins, he's talking about bringing in tariffs for every imported item. And the ideology behind that is because it's going to cost consumers so much more. It's going to be better for these companies to open up factories here and then create more jobs for Americans. Whether that's true or not, if it's going to happen, I don't know.
Yeah.
So, but I do know one thing. If he wins and he also wins the House of Representatives, it's going to be more likely that he's going to be able to get those tariffs passed. If he does that, right, price of material, price of tools is going to skyrocket, at least in the immediate future, right? So now what happens is I'm buying material for jobs I'm going to be doing in January and February now. Right? I'm buying my tools because I normally upgrade my tools every 5 years. I'm buying my tools that I was going to get next year, this November, right? So if Trump loses and the prices don't go up, I still made a lot. I'm still saving on taxes because I'm able to make those deductions for 2024. If Harris doesn't win the House of Representatives and doesn't take away the accelerated depreciation, I'm still good, people, because I put in the capital improvements in for 2020
right now.
So either way, and here's a perfect example of what business people do. We pivot.
Forecast.
It doesn't matter who wins. We're still going to make money.
Hey, let's take the caller real quick, Dan, and then we'll come back to that. Let's table that regarding your strategies for the future. Caller, state your name and where you're calling from.
My name is Patrick Ritchie. I'm calling from Gaston, Alabama.
Patrick from Gaston.
Yeah.
Say that right?
How y'all doing this afternoon?
Man, good to hear you, my brother. It's good to hear you, Patrick. Thank you for calling in, bro. Patrick from Gaston, Alabama. Let's just do that. Let's just say Alabama shit. What's your question, brother?
I had a property. Basically, I had a fire in 2022, which I found out it was electrical. So I went through all of the things to tie up all my properties as far as electrical dealings and everything. But my question is, basically, I heard that the NAR realtors, basically, like in the past, I would buy a property with a buyer's agent, and I'm trying to get the idea of how they're really working through the whole ordeal now, because usually I would go through buying a property through a buyer's agent, and the seller would be, all of the, basically the purchase, they would take care of the closing. The seller would take care of all of the
realtor fees.
Closing.
You're talking about the fees.
Right.
Okay.
Right, and they would split it. Basically, the seller and the buyer's agent would split that. But now, since they have this whole agenda that's going on with the agents, I'm just trying to find out what they're doing now, because I've been out of the game for probably about 2 years now. So I'm trying to find out what other investors are doing now. So that's my whole question.
All right, so we're dealing with the National Association of Realtors. Patrick, thank you for bringing that point up, because we need to talk about it. And they lost $1 billion, what was it, $550 million, whatever, I don't know, lawsuit, because, and I agree that there needed to be some discussion. There needed to be some discussion on why me as the seller are paying the buyer's agent to negotiate against me. Why am I paying you to negotiate against me? It makes absolutely no sense. So, Borrero, you've been around longer than me. Let's hear what you're saying, bro.
I agree with Kris. I mean, it's annoyed me in the past when
you got $100,000 a year paying.
I'm paying the commissions, and the buying agent is negotiating like real, like not only
cutthroat
aggressively, but
cutthroat.
rude.
I'll say it. Ruthless.
Yeah, like they're rude sometimes.
Rude. Yeah.
Look, I think Kris, you said to me like shit has to change. It's been like that for 100 years or something to that effect.
100 years,
right? Nothing that stays the same that long is ever good for the consumer.
Nope.
Look, Patrick, I could tell you what we're doing. If I'm selling, I actually just
hold on. Let me preface this. Now, Dan, Patrick, I want Patrick to stay in his lane. Dan does millions of dollars of transactions a year. I want to preface this. I love you, Patrick. So don't take Dan's shit and go out there and be like, I'm going to do. Dan does millions of dollars of transactions a year. He's in the driver's seat. Okay. Go ahead, Dan. I just want to make sure we get two different.
I speak to different people, and I'm with Kris. You and I are both in the same circles where we're speaking to other investors on how we're dealing with this. I could tell you one of the strategies I'm testing out now is I'm actually still paying both sides. I am paying both sides because when that selling agent finds out that he doesn't have to go to his buyer to get his commission, and I'm going to be paying 2.5%, right? That's what I'm looking to pay my seller's agent. Actually, I'm paying 3%. So my listing agent's getting 2%. My selling agent's getting 3%. And the reason I'm putting up that bone of 3% out there is because that selling agent is going to show that buyer my property before she shows any other property. My
Mike,
selling agent is going to try to push my property because that selling agent's making more money selling my property than the one next door.
then
So I
Mike.
don't have a problem still paying for it. I'm not even paying for it because the way I look at it, I've always looked at it, the buyer's paying for it because all those numbers are already figured into the deal prior to me buying it. I'm not even paying for it because the way I look at it, I've
I'm
always
sorry, I
looked at
gotta
it, the
turn this
buyer's
down.
paying for it. So having said that, now if you have to pay for it, right, that you need to account for those numbers. So if let's say you got to pay 10 grand to the realtor and your offer originally would have been 140, right? Now you got to bring down your number to 130, right? Because that's part of your expenditures, right? So you have to adjust accordingly.
But Dan, you didn't tell him how you was cut. You won't pay the whole 6%. You didn't go tell the whole story. What are you doing? You hold it back.
I'm not paying 6. I'm paying 5.
You didn't say that. You need to let him know.
Yeah, I'm paying the listing agent 2%. Now, sometimes the listing agent is going to say, "Hey, that's not really fair. The selling agent is getting 2.5, rather 3." And my argument is, well, you could get the whole 5, sell it yourself, do some open houses, get aggressive. I'm not saying you can't get the whole thing.
They don't want to do that.
You could make as much as you want from this deal, up to 5%.
You know they don't want to do that, Dan.
You got to do the work.
They don't want to do. Patrick, tell us what's on your mind.
So my question. So my question is, if I'm buying a property, for instance, for $200,000, so I gotta add that in 210.
No, so
it depends on the seller.
It depends what the seller. They're supposed to make you sign an agreement prior to them showing you that property, and within that agreement, there's supposed to be a percentage of the amount of the purchase cost that you agreed to pay. So let's say you agreed to pay 2%. That's on a $200,000 deal. That's $4,000 that you're agreeing to pay.
Okay.
Now that should be outlined before you put in an offer, before you look at the property. That should be an agreed amount prior to you even looking at the property. So let's say the property your original offer was going to be 200, then back it down to 196.
That's still not. That's still you still have to discuss who pays the buyer's agent, and that's going to be in the listing.
Not only will it be in the listing, my understanding is the realtors are making buyers sign that form prior to them even showing them the property.
Well, think about it, Patrick. Let's say Dan's selling me a property, right? $200,000. He's gonna let everybody know. Look, I ain't paying shit for the buyer. 0, right? He's gonna be in the listing, but what Dan has to make a decision is: are the buyers that are gonna look at his property prepared to pay the 3% or whatever? So it's in the listing. It says it right there. It'll say buyer side X, seller side X. This is the problem. Realtors don't freaking want to tell us this stuff. It just makes me... Anyway, so when Dan lists the property, he'll say, look, on my side's getting X. This is what I'm paying for sellers. I'm sorry. This is what I'm saying. I'm paying for the buyer side. So you'll know when you look at this house. So when I make an offer on Dan's house, I have to make a decision. Is Dan paying 1%, 2%, or 3%? Me as the buyer, okay? You got it? You have to make that decision.
Yeah. I mean, usually, I usually would see that in a P&S, purchase and sales agreement.
It'll be right on there.
But the thing is, I was really trying. My question was, I know everything is broke down with the buyer's agent, but do I have to pay for the seller's agent also?
No. Absolutely not. You're
just the buyer side. The buyer side, yeah. The whole law case settlement and all that was on the buyer side. It wasn't even, no one was even tripping on the seller side. I mean, we were,
Patrick, the other thing
everything is due.
The other thing is this: my understanding, because I just listed this property, is that they can't put into the listing MLS that, let's say I'm selling, that I'm going to be paying the buyer side. They can't do that. They could disclose it when the agent calls the selling agent and says, "Hey, are you guys going to pay any commission towards the buyer side?" At that point, they could verbally agree, say it, and then also send an agreement saying, "Look, this seller is willing to pay 3%." Right? So, but you'll never see that on the MLS listing. That's my understanding of these new rules, and hence the reason why you should be asking your agent, if you're a buyer,
what are they paying
before we go into this property.
What are they
Let's
paying?
you and I have an agreement. If the seller is not paying any commission towards you, I want to know what it's going to cost me.
You better
I'm not
know.
going to go in that property without knowing what it's going to cost me.
You got to know. You got to know, dog.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I've been busy getting my, basically going back, working on my properties and getting it sold up. So I'm just trying to find out what's going on with the new game. As an investor, you always got to pivot. I'm just trying to find out what the word out on the street is as far as what's going on, as far as investors and how they're handling this whole little mess with the agents. So,
well, you know what?
That's all.
You said something extremely powerful. We pivot, right? As an investor, you said it. As investors, we pivot. Well, there's always changes in the environment, man, that we don't control, and this is one of those changes. And I think this is something that's gonna, it's gonna work itself out. It's just gonna take time. This is good. This is the new norm. This is going to become our new norm. Now it's a matter of how do we navigate this new norm.
All right, Patrick. Good hearing from you, my brother. Anything else you got?
Nah. That's it. I was just trying to get the word. Pretty much how y'all dealing with agents right now.
Yeah.
On the buyer and seller side.
Thanks for calling.
Pretty much.
We'll see you on the next side, thank you. Okay. That's a great question, dog.
Was a great question. We have anybody else on the line with a question?
I don't have on the line. I got some IG questions here. Listen, IG people, I don't know. IG, y'all scared to call.
Yeah, IG.
Diana,
call us up. Get on the phone with us. You don't have to show your face.
What's the process for a title search? Do you need permission from the owner to do one, Dan?
Anybody could do a title search on any property.
Just pay for it.
Yeah, you can pay for it. You can start. You could do preliminary title search, but every county in the country has its own housing department or Department of Finance, right? So you want to know who's paying the taxes, go to Department of Finance and type in that property address, and you'll actually see a copy of the tax bill. Now that tax bill may be going to a different property, right? Because it's the one that you're looking at may be a rental property, but now you know where they're getting that tax bill and who's the person paying it. Now you could just look them up, whether you
look them up.
The internet, anybody could be found now.
I'm looking for who has it.
And when you go to Department of Finance, it's going to tell you if they owe any taxes, and then you could use now that block and lot number and that parcel number, and you can go to the buildings department website, and you can see if they've got any violations, open permits. Everything is. You don't even have to really. I mean, unless you want to go
ask nobody
title search, but
we don't here. It's not. Here is the Department of the Treasurer, so you can just go right down there. In fact, we have a city assessor's office. You can go right there and tell you about the tax. Raleigh Jones, your realtor, says you got to have a agreement to pay if the seller doesn't cover it. So
yes, exactly.
We got a new caller on the line. 1 second. Let's see what we got here. Oop. We got 3 or 4 people calling. Listen, if the line is busy, please give us a call back. Caller, state your name and where you're calling from. Oop, hold up. I lost you. 1 second. What's wrong with this stupid thing? Caller, I'm sorry. State your name and where you're calling from, my friend. Caller, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
State your name and where you're calling from. Sorry about that.
Diana De La Paz, and I'm calling from California.
Oh, out in Cali.
California in the house. How are you?
Is it Danielle you said? Danielle?
Diana De La Paz.
Oh, Diana. Okay. Diana, what you got? How can we help you
That-
today?
Yeah. Well, I'm coming back on that whole title search. So I've been
that's you.
looking at some houses on like auction.com, whatnot,
Okay.
purchasing, and there's all these things about make sure you do your title search. People talk about liens on properties that obviously you won't see on the website of auction.com because you have to do your due
They're
diligence.
scaring you, Diana. They scaring you, man.
Yeah.
Look at Dan is.
Diana, what would you say,
I keep
Kris?
losing her. Hold on, Diana. Why does this thing keep cutting off? Diana, you there? Hold on, we lost you. 1 second.
All right. Well,
Keeps cutting
while
off.
you're trying to get her back on, I'll start answering some of this. Listen, the reality is, depending on which website you're buying on, you can find yourself in a dilemma, and some websites don't. So, for instance, Hubzu is a website that I actually prefer to use. You do find some REOs in there. REOs are bank foreclosed properties. You also find some regular properties too in there. But you need to carefully read the fine print, right? Besides like Hubzu, for instance, they will give you clear title, but you're going to get robbed with the title work, right? Because
$5,000,
yeah,
5%, right?
yeah, the title companies know that they're the only ones that could do the title, and you can't go shopping if you buy through that website. So they're gonna tack on excessive fees, right? You also got to pay, I think, 1 or 2% to the listing agent, whoever put it on Hubzu. That's on you. You got to read the fine print, right? So when you have to know what your costs are, so that when you're giving an offer, you're giving your offer based on when you got to back out this cost. So if you would have normally paid, 100,000 for this property, but because of all the excessive fees that are going to this auction site, it's another 10,000 above normal. Then you got to subtract that off of your original amount that you were willing to pay, right? Otherwise, you're going to be upside down on that property, or you're going to be in a position where it's not going to cash flow. Now, there are certain properties that will sell it to you, like tax deed auctions. You should be doing your due diligence and title search. The problem with that is, many times you could do title searches on 10 properties, and 8 of them or 6 of them will be pulled off the market because the person came out with the money they owed at the last minute, right? So now you did title searches on 10. You only have 4 that you could bid on, and now you're going to be bidding against everybody else that wanted to bid on them, and you may not get
Never know.
Then you just lost all that money.
Me
personally, I don't recommend buying from the auction unless you have experience.
Diana, sorry, we lost you. I don't know what happened. We had a bad connection. But there is a million different types of auctions, Diana.
Yes.
Most of them you don't need a title search. The one that you must have a title search on is the foreclosure. And I'm talking about where you go into the steps and you rubbing elbows with us. Like you write, boom, like I'm bidding 300, boom, 310. Like that is where you better have. To this day, I consider myself an expert. I still get a title search. I don't even trust myself. Even trust myself. I'm like, I'll go look, I'll do my own title search, and I'm like, shit, here's $100. So yes, get one. If you're going for Hubzu and most of those auction.com, they're gonna make sure the title's good.
Yeah, and listen, the other thing is this: if you go on an auction online, I mean, you're gonna bid, right? But don't get emotional. Number one. Number two.
Yeah, it's true.
If you go to the courthouse steps to do your auctions, I recommend everybody go there at least 5 to 7 times.
Yeah, before you bid, right?
Yeah, because you better know who the players are. Because let's say Kris and I are there, we're competitors, but you come in, we're gonna bid you up just so that you disappear. You don't want to come back again.
That's true.
We're gonna bid you up intentionally, right? Even though Kris and I don't like each other, when it comes to that, we're gonna work together. So you better know who the players are and the signs they're giving each other before you go to that courthouse step.
That's true.
Onto the auction.
Round up, call in. We got a few more minutes. I'm on here with Dan Borrero.
Did you have anybody else coming on? I think Diana said, okay, she got that. What we said.
She got, okay, good. Somebody was calling in. Listen, guys, I mean, multiple people calling at once. 757-204-1332. 757-204-1332. DT Jim says, Do you think that a seller's agent will accept a lower percentage depending on the sale price? Or do you always offer 2% no matter what, Dan? Good question, DT Gems.
You know, I always try to reward the selling agent, not the listing agent, because the listing agent, she's got the easy job. She's got my.
You confusing me, Dan. The selling agent is representing the seller. The listing agent is representing the person listing the property. Sound like the same shit to me.
Okay, so I'm sorry. The selling agent who's representing me, who's listing the property on the MLS, I pay them the least.
That's the listing agent.
The listing agent, who's
Never
also
got the
selling
buyer side. Okay, go ahead.
Now, I pay the buyer side more because I'm putting that's the carrot in front of the horse. It's the buyer side that's actually bringing the buyers.
No doubt.
So
They're the ones doing the work.
Buyers to bring their buyers to my property because at the end of the day, they're going to make more money selling my property than someone else's.
You daggone right. DT Gems, I hope you got that there. Oh, he already said that. Round up. Got another question coming in, another caller coming in. Y'all don't be scared to call in. You got Dan Borrero. Shit, y'all
you got Kris Haskins. Don't think about me. You got
like,
Kris is killing it.
Call
Dan,
from.
Right.
If they wanted both of us on the line, it's gonna cost them almost $500. Round up, you caller, you're on the line. Please state your name and where you're calling from. Why does this thing keep kicking off? 1 second, brother. I lost you. Oh, it ain't. 1 second, I lost you. 1 second, man. I don't know what's wrong with this thing. I hear you, but I don't get you. I don't have you on here. 1, 2.
Listen, I'm not trying to discourage anybody from buying on the auction. I'm just saying, make sure you read the fine print on those auction sites because there are additional costs to buying on an auction site rather than
caller.
Would normally
we
pay.
Got you here. Yeah, go ahead. Caller, state your name. Where you calling from? The freaking A.
What's going on tonight, Kris?
I don't know. It says it's connected. Keep talking to me, buddy. I'm gonna see if I can bring you in while you're talking.
Maybe it's because your earbuds is hooked up.
Oh, here we go. All right, I got you here. Go ahead, buddy. One more time. Name, where you calling from. Sorry about that.
No problem. Ray from Savannah. Can you hear me?
Ray in Savannah. What up, homie?
How are you, Ray?
What's up, Playboy? How you doing?
Good, brother. Talk to us. What do you need? How can we help you?
Here's the deal.
Uh-oh. He sound like
my wife and I purchased a house from her sister. Their dad passed away, so we purchased the sister interest in the house. We rehabbed the house. We got about $130K of our cash tied up in the house, and we're getting ready to rent it. The question I want to ask you fellas is, what should I do and when should I pull out the money that we have tied up in the house? Because we got $130K locked in, and I need my money back.
Okay, Ray, let's do the numbers. What's the house worth?
The house is worth, off of, if looking at Zillow, they run it anywhere in the neighborhood from $225 to $250.
Okay, so let's go worst case scenario, always $225, right?
Hold on, Dan. I'm gonna pull this on the screen so we can do this. Let's do this on the screen so we can get this.
So let's go. It's $225. You have all in $125,000 into it.
No, all in $150 because we bought the sister out as well.
So hold up, your all in is what?
So you have $75,000 in equity.
Potentially, yes.
Essentially, right?
Hold on. I'm sorry, Dan. I'm not catching something here. ARV is 225. Ray, ARV is 225.
Correct.
And
do you have any mortgages on this property, Ray?
No, I don't have a mortgage on the property.
Okay. So what I would, if you want to take
hold on, Dan, we gotta know
money out,
I want everybody to know what the numbers are. Hold on before you say something. ARV is 225. He owes what? I'm sorry. You're in it for how much?
He's in it for 150.
I'm in it for with the purchase price about 150.
Okay, 50K. Okay. Any monthly payments?
No, there's no mortgage.
All cash.
So Ray, you could get, if you go to the bank and the house is worth 225, right? At 75% of the value of the house, they're going to give you 168.
70%.
75% of the value of the 225, the bank
168.
will give you 168,000.
Okay. But that's on investment property. Okay. So hold on.
And the rents in the neighborhood are about 1,800. That's where, it's not the best neighborhood. I would say it's a C, right now, because there are still some boarded up homes in the neighborhood. So rent is about 1,800.
1,800. Hold on, Dan. Before you answer, don't we got to ask more questions? I want to know.
I mean, that's just the top. That's just basic, right? Now, this is the problem. Look, if you put that house as a house that you're going to personally live in, you don't have no problems getting 150,000. If you put that house as an investment property, then now it's going to be based on your current rent. So let's suppose your rent is $1,800 a month. You got to times that by 12. That's $21,600, right?
Yes.
What is your insurance on that and your real estate taxes?
The insurance right now for the year is about $1,000. You would say for the year, $1,000, and the taxes are about the taxes are about $2,400.
Okay.
3,500.
Let's say you do your landscaping. That's another $1,200. That's another $1,200 a year minimal, right? So you're down to
plus
you're down to $17,000 in net rental income, and you should be putting away another $200 in reserves. That's $2,400, right? Off the 17,000.
4,200. He's 4,200, Dan, with taxes, insurance, and maintenance, correct?
Yep. Well, I didn't even do the maintenance. So you're down to 14,600. Now you're looking at that. I'm putting $2,400 away for reserves for maintenance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, does the house need a new roof, Ray?
No, it's completely redone, like new floors, new walls, new systems.
So that house could afford to pay per month?
The max is $1,800. What happened? We thought we was going to Airbnb the house, and then we realized Savannah had a restriction where for the neighborhood that we live in, they only do 30 days or more. And we consulted with someone, and they said that they don't recommend, because there's still some boarded up homes in the neighborhood,
I agree,
to do a midterm rental on the property.
I agree. So you're looking at that house could afford to pay $1,200 in mortgage payments per month.
But Dan, we need to know my question is, what are you doing with the money? That's what I'm like. Forget all the deal. Are we reinvesting it, buying more equity? What are we doing with it?
Well, my goal is to put it in the stock market. I've tried this real estate thing, and it's kind of took a long time to get this rehab done. Contractors running off with money, taking a slow time. So I said I'd rather go try my hand in the stock market next.
Welcome, young Jedi. Welcome to the business. Welcome to the business.
So what I hear, Ray, is that you got smacked up a little bit doing this reno.
I did. And
now let me tell you what I also hear, Ray. I also hear since you got smacked up, you won't get smacked up again as bad the next deal. Am I lying?
No, that's true. Like I understand not to pay contractors until they're done now, and don't fall for the sob stories and the sad stories about my dog ran away with my cat, my car broke down, all the stories they can tell you as to why they need money.
Ray, my wife left me. She's gonna leave me if I don't come home with $500. Yeah,
Ray. Man, we got mad love for you. Dan, I want to ask Dan a question. I feel like Ray is going to take this money and go to a different business. It's a curve. Being an entrepreneur, we got these curves. We find out a new business, We love it. Oh shit, it's really harder than I thought. Let me do back here. New business. Oh shit, it's harder than I thought. Let's go to something different. New curve. learn. Oh shit, this is the best thing ever. Oh damn, it's harder than I thought. New curve. Ray, I want to make sure.
Yeah, dude. I just don't want to have the 150 tied up just sitting there, and I'm not.
I hear you, Ray. The thing is, I would take out enough money where as long as you keep your mortgage on that property under $1,000,
low,
and because that additional $200 a month could make a difference if the boiler goes or the AC goes. If there's any, if you got to put a new sewer line, I don't know what could happen. And it's a single family house. So the reason, the reason I don't like single family houses is because when it's vacant, it's 100% vacancy rate, right? Yeah. That's why I like to stay, in the multifamily properties. One of the reasons why, but that's what may be in your backyard. Like Kris Haskins, he does single family houses, and Kris does very well, right, Kris?
Yeah, but I want Ray to know that I'm not dealing with stuff like him, though. I mean,
look, Ray, a property like that, Kris and I probably would not have tackled.
No, I don't want to say that, Ray. Here, I want to make sure we clear. When I buy them, I'm not putting in $130,000 into nothing. I mean, the most I would have put 40, 50, get it ready, and then get a $10,000, $20,000 down payment out of somebody. Ray, I want to focus on education as opposed to the money. I think, you know what? And I'm not saying this is you. Us as a community, we think that the money is the problem. Ray, you got money. You got money, dog. Now we need to focus. If I'm looking at this property, I'm like, man, shit. I'll finance that thing out, get 20 grand out of somebody, let them do all the maintenance repairs. I'll take the 20,000 and I would refinance it. So I'd have 20 and another 60, 70. I'm done with this house. I'm on to the next one. So, Ray, that's what I'm saying. It's here, and once again, this is from love. I don't think you got a money problem.
I appreciate that.
I don't think you got a money problem. Like, I mean, you sharp as a tack. It sounds like dude is sharp, man. I mean, you went through all the fire. You here. Why turn around now when you got all the lessons for the next house?
Ray, this is the other thing, man. I suspect the interest rates are going to be dropping. I don't think they're going to drop again in November, but I do believe they'll drop. If Trump wins, and this is not a political statement, guys. If Trump wins,
we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know who's going to win, man.
So we don't know who's going to win. But let's suppose they drop to 6%, right? And you took $100,000 loan for 25 years. Your mortgage payment is going to be $644.31
plus taxes and insurance. So he's at a grand.
With the taxes and insurance, you'll be under $1,000.
You can't lose with that.
Right, you got back your $100,000, so all you really got into the property is
30.
No, he's at 150. He said.
Yeah, it's right here to pay the sister. You paid the sister 20 grand.
No, we paid her about 27.
27. Okay.
So all you'll have into the property is 50 grand, and you'll have enough cash flow to take care of any problems, and you'll have an asset that should be appreciating, especially if those houses that are boarded up start getting purchased and fixed. Right, so
don't pull it
I wouldn't
all
look to be taking all my money out. I'd look
pull it out, right?
Out the majority, 2/3 of my money out, and because you don't want to choke yourself, you don't want to be overextended if the market goes the other way. Now you got 100,000 to reinvest in property, or you have another 100,000 to put it into the stock. But it's like Kris said, you're gonna have a learning curve, and no matter what business you're in. And you just went through your learning. You just went through the hardest.
Now you're gonna do that shit all around on the stock market too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get you. I appreciate that. You're right. I will try to, I guess, run it back and see if I can get another deal, and make it work this time. But don't rehab. That's what we did in this situation because. We had this pipe dream.
You probably
hold on, Dan. Let me hear it. Oh, you renovated it for Airbnb.
Correct. It was this pipe dream of it being this nice midterm rental.
So you got a lot of.
Well, let me ask you a question.
Lick your wounds, man.
You think about selling the property?
No, my wife's not going to sell it because it's been in her family since the 50s.
Ain't going nowhere.
So
that house ain't going nowhere.
Yeah. It's an emotional time for her.
Right? Ray, don't be fucking coming back on here. You need to do whatever she say to do. You need to keep. Ray, you better not sell a house
Yeah. You're gonna have a problem, Ray.
All right. Anything else, Ray? Don't over leverage. Dan and I are strong practitioners of keeping money in real estate. Don't feel like a schmuck because you got money in real estate. I have a lot of it. I'm like, I keep my money in the deal because I want the cash flow.
So let me ask you one last question. I know y'all got other callers, but once I pull that 100,000 out, what would you think? What would be the next play? Should I try to get another 100,000, $120,000, $130,000 property?
I'm going to go what Kris said earlier. Get educated before you think of where you're going to put that money. Start thinking about educating yourself so that you'll be in a better position to allocate. Look, guys, I want you to understand something. Money's like this. I'm going to take a couple of dollars, some singles, right? I take this single dollar bill, right? What Kris and I do is we deploy our single dollar bill. We deploy our money like soldiers. We send them out. Well, that soldier better come back with 4 captured soldiers, right? That's how money works. Now we got 5 captured soldiers. I send that out again. I re-educate. I'm going to educate those 4 additional dollars that came in as soldiers, and those 4 soldiers are going to go out and capture, right? Those 5 more soldiers. Now they're coming back with 10 soldiers. And I'm going to re-educate those 5 additional soldiers. And now those 10 soldiers are going to go back out and they're going to come back with 10 additional soldiers, right? So what we're doing is we're redeploying our funds on a daily basis, right? We look at our dollars like they're soldiers, and Kris and I are the generals of those soldiers, right? So, but before we become generals, we had to learn how to educate ourselves. We had to educate ourselves on how to deploy that money, how to strategize in deploying that money, how to learn the landscape and the environment and what things could affect us, right? Just like generals do, right? So, I would say, Ray, take some education. And by the way, you don't have to pay a lot of money for that. It's free everywhere. Kris has a ton of free information on his YouTube channel. I mean, Kris has got over 130,000 subscribers. He doesn't get that big without giving out great information, right? And I do a free mentorship class every single Wednesday night. It's in my bio.
Ray, good luck to you, brother. We got to get off here.
All right, fellas. Thank y'all. Have a good night.
Sir. Thank you,
Dan,
Ray.
Listen, y'all. We're going to take one more call. Dan, can you just talk about my community? Dan, I thought. Let me just say this real quick. I love y'all so much. Good God, I really do. What am I doing here? Brand settings. Y'all, in the bio, link below. Don't forget to register for the My Best Tenant Challenge. It's starting up tomorrow. You don't want to miss this. Learn from Lakeisha Kirkendall. She's got over 200 doors under management. We're going to show you how to get your ideal tenant, how to locate, how to manage, how to place your ideal tenant. The challenge starts tomorrow. The link is in the bio right below in the video description. Get registered up. I look forward to seeing y'all at the challenge starting tomorrow. We're going to do something with Dan too. Dan, I thought if I made enough money, all my problems would go away. I'm just telling you what I thought, right? If I remember I made my first 100, then I got 200,000, 300, fucking million, and I'm like, I thought racism would go away. I thought all this prejudice, I just thought it would go away. I don't know why I thought that. I thought, so now I'm looking at myself. I'm like, only thing that I can really pass on is what I know. Like if I pass the money on to my kids, it will destroy them. And I'm thinking about Ray, like we focus so much on, as Alex Hormozy says, the S&P 500, but we need to look at the S&Me 500. Dan, I just want you to talk about that.
Look, I'm not the guy who says I want to leave generational wealth.
Well, just me. Let's just stick to me then. Like I just want to know that. Like I thought that if I had the money,
money creates more stress.
It's more stressful. It's actually more of a problem.
Like, look, this is the deal. Being poor is bad, right? And it's hard. Being poor is hard.
Yeah, but your heart is in this box.
Right. Very small.
Your heart stays right here.
Working to become wealthy is harder. and being wealthy then turns back too hard, right? So, we all
Wow.
need to decide which hard do we want. Either way, it's going to be hard. Decide what your heart is, right? So, I decided I didn't like being poor as a kid. I knew one day I'd be rich. I just didn't know how and when, but I knew that if I didn't die rich, it wasn't going to be because of a lack of effort. And I wish, Kris, that you and I had this platform when we were coming up.
Oh
Imagine
my
how much
Lord.
richer we'd be and how much faster we would have did it.
That's
Look, look,
another
look.
conversation.
The reality is, if you have money, you're still going to suffer. Your parents are still going to pass. Loved ones
The
are still
kids
going
are
to
gonna
pass.
be
Your
issues. The
kids are
kids are
still going
gonna
to
have
make
issues.
bad decisions, right? Um, you know, Shit's going to happen in life. People ain't going to like you, whether you have
No.
money, you don't.
But
You
my
know,
point was, I wanted to ask you, Dan, like we think, and I hear it in Ray's voice, I got an X dollars. What should I do with it? And I'm like, fuck, first thing I want to know is, what do you know to do? Like, it ain't about just putting money somewhere, and it's not a Ray thing. I think this is
it's
a
a
cultural
society.
thing,
Well, I think it's a society thing in both
society thing. Yeah.
in both your cultural and mine as well, right? Look, I'm so glad that I'm finally reaching people in my community. Um, like I just had an event this weekend at one of
Yeah,
my
I saw that.
properties, and I'm so glad it was both brown and black people there, because I'm reaching the community that needs it the most. The reality is, unfortunately, in our community, money, having a relationship, isn't really taught to us when we were younger, right?
My relationship with money was go to work, get paid, and spend it.
Right. Pay your bills, and
That's
then
it.
and then whatever's left, you could go and have a good time with,
Yeah,
right?
whatever's left,
Um,
figure it out.
so, your kids and my kids, I know your kids 'cause I know how I've met them, I see them. You know, we both take a lot of time out in educating our kids on having a relationship with money.
Yeah,
My kids are adults, and they save on average about 40 to 45% of their pay
good.
to
Good.
to invest,
Wow,
right? Um, how many Americans do that in general?
2%, probably
Right.
5%.
So, but the only reason they have that mentality is because they were taught that.
Hmm.
And this is what we need to do: is not only teach our communities, but teach our communities to teach their kids.
This is what we do.
That's
Round
that's
up.
not for nothing. That's the game. People say, I want to create generational wealth. No, man.
Generational
Not
wisdom.
generational wealth isn't just about money. So you could give your kids. You know how many people I know that inherited money? Or when I was a kid, they get a lawsuit because they got hit by a bus or something.
Oh shit.
$100,000.
They got nothing.
3 months later, they broke.
Yeah, they got nothing. It's all
Whereas,
here.
right, if they had the knowledge and understanding of and had a relationship with money, that $100,000 would be millions today.
Yeah, it's so weird, isn't it, Dan? Just because you got $1 million does not mean you're a millionaire. Jim Rohn says it. And you know what's weird? I look in the mirror, Dan. Let's say, like, if I sell a house, I have all this capital around. I'm like, is this really me, or do I need to? You know what I mean? It's like, just because you got it, don't mean you
I
know how
give
to
you one
really.
better, Kris. How about when you do a deal and you get like 200 cash, right?
That's what I'm talking about.
And you like, see, now a lot of people say, damn, I'm gonna go on vacation, I'm gonna buy myself a new car, get myself a new Rolex. Kris and I were like, we're thinking as soon as we walk out that closing room, we're saying, all right, damn, what can
Next
we buy?
deal.
What's the next property? Where can we put this money to start working for us again?
Next
We're like
deal.
anxious to put it
Next
to work
deal.
because we don't want to see it in the bank.
Next deal.
The next deal.
Deal. It's rough. Y'all get your questions in 757-204-1332. We got one more call and we're gone. And we're gone out of here. Dan, that is a skill set that I had to learn. Financial literate people invest. We earn money and we invest first and spend the rest. While generally speaking, most people spend first and invest what's left over. And from my opinion, that has been my secret. So if I make $5,000, I always take $1,000 and put it on principal. Over the years, man, it's just by default.
Just goes up. Listen, each one of my kids, I couldn't do this when I was younger. One, because I was investing every single red cent I had into my real estate career. But if I had known about it, I probably would have figured out a way to do it. If you put $150, $200 a week from the time that you're 21 years old for 25 years into the S&P 500 fund, you'll have close to $1 million.
I didn't know that either.
Before you're even ready to retire. When you think about it, shit, you spend that going out to dinner. When you're young, you spend that out on a Friday night, hanging out at the bar with your boys.
Drinks.
Right? So you go out one weekend less a month.
All right, Dan. I guess this is it. No other questions. Dan, it's been an honor speaking with you, brother.
Likewise, man. As always, I love this platform, Chris.
It's been cool, right? That's phenomenal.
Getting a lot of value out of this, and
wow.
Yeah,
Ray doing deals, Diana and Cali. So we got coast to coast tonight, Dan. South.
Yes. Patrick in Alabama.
Yeah.
So, I'm so glad you came up with this idea, and I'm so glad you asked me to participate in this. Thank you.
Yep, sounds good. So listen, y'all. Dan and I'm hoping to come to Harlem. I haven't told him this, but either in December, Dan. We're already looking at the hotel. So y'all make sure you subscribe to Dan. Join our email list if you're not already. You don't want to miss anything that's coming up with me and Dan. The email list is right in the show notes below. Come on, and we'll see you next Sunday.
And I just want to put a shout out. I do a free mentorship class every single Wednesday night, guys. It's an incredible. Just go to danielborrerojr.com. You can sign up there. Sign up is free. Attending is free. Just had an incredible walk through one of my properties where we went through. This just happened yesterday. Where students there were learning how do we come up with our cap rate? How did I come up with the financing? How did I decide what material to use during the renovation? How to vet our tenants? How to maintain the property? So we were going through from beginning to end on that property.
Stuff, man.
But not only that, everyone got to network with each other and exchange numbers and figure out, maybe how they could help each other. So, join us. We do it every single Wednesday night.
Thanks, Dan. That's right. The credit cousins. Y'all hit that thing and share this information with the community. Just hit that share and see anybody else that thinks they're going to get in real estate. They need to know this stuff. I think the most important thing before you forget money, Dan, before we leave, I got to ask you. I learned how to do this business with no money, right? I mean, very little, right? And I just think that when people have money, they come in, I think that kind of puts blinders on them because they don't look at every opportunity to maximize that dollar. What do you think? I agree,
100%. So I was reading an article a couple of weeks ago, and it was saying that 35% of the self-made millionaires in the United States, and again, I didn't confirm anything in the article, but I do believe it. 35% of the self-made millionaires are people with dyslexia.
Oh, wow. What?
And they accredit that to the educational system because they had to navigate an educational system that was against them, working against them, right? They developed a skill set of how to overcome challenges or ignorance, people from the other side. So now they've taken that skill set into their business world because that's what we do as entrepreneurs. What we do is solve problems or overcome challenges, right?
It's deep, man.
So it spoke volumes, and I want everyone here to know, I know firsthand what they're talking about because I was one of those dyslexics.
I know Damon John was too.
Yes, and that's not something that goes away, people. We just learn how to manage it as we get older better through life experience, right? So, think about that, right? So for everyone out there who's got learning disabilities, this is just part of the process where you're developing a skill set that everyone else is not going to have that's going to help you overcome your challenges in that competition. So when I look back and I say, man, thank God I was a dyslexic. Because I don't know if I would have seen the opportunities that people who are not dyslexic don't see because they didn't have to go through those challenges,
Look at that.
right?
That's deep, Dan.
So what Kris said, I agree with 100%.
I agree. All right. I'll see you next Sunday, Dan. Thank you.
Good night, everyone. Take care.
My roundup. Peace. Hit that. You got to end your live on IG, Dan.